All right, good morning. I am Kyla Jackson. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am so excited for this lesson today. The first lesson I thought went very well, but I think this lesson is going to be simpler. I'll just put it that way than what I had last week. But it was fun. It's a new series we're doing. And I am just looking forward to seeing what the Lord has planned for us in this Sunday school hour. So we've been talking about the circumstances of a wise woman. That was last week. This week we're talking about the cry of a wise woman. Now, you're like, what? Okay, first the circumstances and now the cry of a wise woman. What are we going to learn? Well, I'll let you know, okay? No, you're fine. Honestly, there are times where I'm like, I don't think I'm going to get anything out of my Sunday school lesson when I'm studying it, because I'm like, it's such a small book. I'm like, the chapters are super small, and I'm like, what am I going to do? And so when I read the chapter, I find things that kind of stick out so I can bring it up in my lesson. And so I'm sitting there, and it was like, the other day it was like 9:30, and I'm like, I've read it all week, and I've read it before, like a month ago, and I'm like, I'm just trying to refresh my memory of what I read. And so I'm reading. I'm like, instead of me trying to rush through it, I'll just kind of skim it, and then I'll go over it when I'm more awake instead of at 9:30 at night when I'm like dead exhausted. And so I looked at it the next day. I'm like, oh, okay, that makes a little more sense. Well, the cry of a wise woman. Now, how many of us have heard somebody call out in the middle of the night, maybe when your kids were young, or if you're babysitting and they start screaming? When we first had Stephen, when Stephen was first born, he had night terrors. And as a first-time mom, Patty, that terrified me. When I first heard him start screaming, I jumped out of bed and ran. I thought I was going to stub my toe or something, but luckily I didn't. And I ran in there and I picked him up, and I was like bouncing him. I'm like, it's okay, Stephen, it's okay, calm down. He just would not calm down. And according to my family, as I was growing up, I was known as a baby whisperer. And I could put almost any baby to sleep, calm him down. Not that particular night at 2 o'clock in the morning. And here I am, first-time mom, terrified to death. My baby is screaming. I can't calm him down. And I'm like, Joe. And so he comes in. He was right across our room. And he comes in, he goes, I'm like, I can't calm him down. I did everything I could that I would normally do to calm him down during the day. I was like, I can't. He goes, let me see him. So he took him into the bathroom, turned the bright light on, let him look in the mirror, calmed him down. And I'm standing there in his room crying, ladies, because I just didn't know what to do. I'm just like, I have so many nephews and nieces and younger siblings. But it's different when it's your own child. And when I was reading this, I'm like, okay. So I'm going to read to you the verse, 2 Samuel 20, verse 14 and 15. And I listened to these names last night to make sure I said them right, because I don't want to say it and then be incorrect. So if I don't say it correctly, then I'm sorry, but I did listen to it a couple times so I could get it. And here we go. And he went through all the tribes of Israel, and Abel, let me see, I thought I put it in here. Nope, I didn't. Oh. And Abel unto Abel and to Beth Makkah and all the Berites, and they were gathered together and went also after him. And they came and besieged him in Abel of Beth-Maachah. And they cast up a bank against the city, and it stood in the trench. And all the people that were with Joab battered the wall to throw it down. So, but before, in the first couple of verses, it talks about, good morning, ladies, come on up. It says in verses 1 and 2 of chapter 20 of 2 Samuel, I'll let you just hold those, Laura, of 2 Samuel, it's talking, and it says, and there happened to be there a man of Belial, whose name was Sheba, the son of Bichri, a Benjamite. And he blew a trumpet and said, we have no part in David, neither have we inheritance in the son of Jesse, every man to his tents, O Israel. Verse 2, and it says, so every man of Israel went up from David and followed Sheba the son of Bichri. But the men of Judah clave unto their king from Jordan even to Jerusalem. So I know in chapter 2 we kind of skipped a couple verses, but I'll go back and read 11 and 13 too, so we kind of have more of a general idea of what verses 14 and 15 are talking about. Chapter 20. 2 Samuel chapter 20, and we're looking at verses 11 and 13. It says, and one of Joab's men stood by him and said, he that favoreth Joab, and he that is for David, let him go after Joab. And Amasa wallowed in blood in the midst of the highway. And when the men saw that all the people stood there, he removed Amasa out of the highway into the field, and cast a cloth upon him, when he saw that everyone that came by him stood still. When he was removed out of the highway, all the men went on after Joab to pursue after Sheba the son of Bichri. So Amasa was slain. And so all the men that were standing there they weren't doing anything. They weren't doing anything. How many of you, ladies, have seen someone stand on the side of the road and, they weren't helping someone, whoever was helping them, maybe fix a flat tire. And they were just like, how will you learn how to fix a flat tire if you don't watch what happens? Okay. Well, these men that were all standing there looking down at this mess of Amasa being slain, they're not going to do anything. They're not going to go fight the battle. So they took a cloth and laid it over him and moved him out of the highway so they can just keep going. Well, that's where we're at in verse 14. Now they came to the bank of a city, and they were getting ready to fight. Okay? So are we standing up in times of chaos? We all know that the world right now, the culture has changed. Like even from 2 years ago. But it has changed even more over the years from when a lot of you ladies were younger, when you were my age and younger. It has changed a lot. And I'm sitting here when Joe and I first had our children, when we first had Stephen, I was like, I really don't want a child right now. When we were pregnant, because I'm like, I don't want my kids to grow up in this mess. But you know what? Obviously, God wanted them to. God wanted us to have children because he knows where our world is going to, and he knows that this world is going to need good, godly men and women. So are we standing in the middle of chaos? I don't know what you might be going through right now. It might be health issues. It might be family issues. It might be financial issue. I don't know what you're going through. But I want you ladies to realize that through your chaos that you might be going through, God will use you. You may sit there and think, Kyla, how is God going to use me with all the stuff I'm going through? Well, he'll use you to change the outcome. He'll use your chaos to change the outcome from a very bad situation. You know, there are so many things I can say right now that I'm going through, but it's not all about me. It's all about what God can do. So let's look.
Can I just say one thing?
Yes.
One thing that I do every morning when we have a prayer, Lord, what do you want me to do today?
Mm-hmm.
What do you want me to say today?
Yep, that's good.
And he'll tell you what.
Yeah. And it may not, his answer might not be right away though, you know? But throughout the day, little things here and there, he'll answer it just a little bit at a time. Mm-hmm. When he knows you're ready for it. When he knows, oh, Laura's ready for me to give her my complete answer of what I want her to do today. So, verse 16 of chapter 20 of 2 Samuel. Then cried a wise woman out of the city, Hear, hear. Say, I pray you, unto Joab, Come near hither, that I may speak with thee. Now, do you think these men are a little kind of maybe confused? They're in the middle of a war. There's swords clinging. There's horses running around everywhere. There's, I don't know what all they had back then, maybe cannons of some sorts. Or like those, thank you, those catapults, okay, that were hitting the city. So it was loud. Have you ever had construction done on your house? Or been to a place where they were doing construction, all the jackhammering, you know? It's loud, so it's hard to hear when there's so much noise, but then all of a sudden, hear, hear. Okay, maybe not that quiet, but I don't want to blow the speakers, okay? Hear, hear, I say unto you, or unto Joab, excuse me, come near hither, that I may speak with thee. She's wanting an audience with Joab, okay? So, in between these trials and stuff that she's going through, do you need to clean up? You're welcome. In this loud, crazy battle that they're going through, this woman steps out on her balcony and calling for Joab. In the middle of the craziness and confusion, like, what's going on here? A wise woman cries out of the wall of the city. And of course, the Bible doesn't say anything of what her name was. So we just know a woman came out and started screaming or yelling at Joab. Well, Mrs. Chappell wrote down here, still she stands in stark contrast to this chaotic scene and is used of God to change the outcome of a very bad situation. Think back or think at a time, ladies, in your life, might have been just yesterday or a month ago or years ago, but I want you to think with me for a minute. Was there a time in your life where just everything that you could think of was going wrong? Or you might sit here and think, all the time, every day of my life, it's chaos. Like, it is chaos. But we are of a sinful nature, so there's going to be chaos spiritually. But I'm not just talking about, I'm mentally, physically, emotionally, we're all, at some point in our life was full of chaos. One thing after another. What else? Well, you see, ladies, God used this wise woman in the Bible to help in a very bad situation. In your time of chaos, whether it was yesterday, today, years ago, were you able to help someone out? Was God able to use you to make a situation better? Now, you don't need to answer it out loud, okay? But just think about it. God puts these things in our life to help us grow. You sit there, why would he want to do that? Because he wants you to grow. He wants you to be a better Christian. Because we are supposed to be like Christ, because that's what a Christian is. Like Christ, a little Christ. So point number 1, she understood the problem. She understood the problem. Do we understand everything that goes on in our world? No. Do we understand why God puts things in our life that we have to go through? We'll never understand why God did it. But then maybe years down the road, it might click, oh, this is why God wanted Dee's basement to flood. Because then Pastor Joe and I might be able to help her convince of her doing something to it. You know? But I don't know. You know, I broke my ankle years ago, and I can kind of understand what somebody goes through when they break something, because I broke my, but I can kind of relate. Cammie and I can relate to somebody who's lost a loved one. Maybe not exactly, but we can relate to the emotional side of it, and we can let people know that, hey, we're praying for you. I don't know exactly how you're feeling, but I do understand what it means to lose someone. You might be sitting here and you might have had a miscarriage, or a few. And I can honestly say, I've been there. It's not, at first I never wanted to admit it. It's not that I was angry at God, it's just, it's emotional. And I remember that day very, very clearly. And we're so excited. We didn't tell anybody outside of our family. We told our parents, but I don't think we told the siblings. And then I started having complications. I'm like, this is not right. Something's going on. We called the doctor. It was like 10 o'clock. We were waiting for the phone call back. He goes, I hate to have to tell you this, but you did have a miscarriage. And I'm just like, bawling my eyes out. And then after a while, I calmed down. And I'm like, okay, my baby's in your hands, Lord. I know I just need to keep moving on with my life and just know that one day I'll get to meet, we think it was a girl, and we called her Mercy Rose. And so hopefully we were right. If not, it would have been Oliver Christian. But anyway, I'll get to meet my little baby one day. But at this, and sweet Wendy is up there holding the baby right now, probably. But when I gave it to the Lord, Janice, I felt so much better. And yes, it still hurt because it was a connection. Now, I tell ladies, I said, yes, it was hurtful. It hurt to know that I lost a baby, but to think that God blessed me with another one, that I got pregnant a couple months after that, and I was full of joy because I knew that God wanted me to have a little glory and grace in my life. And there are so many times where I do see myself in her with her actions and with her little, attitude there. But she's special. Her and I just have this connection that, for those of you who went to the retreat, the speaker has twin girls, and they were a surprise. And she was saying, me and Rosie, her youngest of the two, of the twins, have a really close connection. And that's how I feel with Glory, although sometimes I'm like, just sit and stop, okay? But that's how it is with every 4-year-old girl, okay? Mommy, can you do this? Mommy, can you do that? Can you do my hair? Can you do my nails? Yes, I will, but let me get this done first. Once I can get all this done, then I will help you, Gloria, and paint your toenails. But we have that bond because it's just her and I. We're the only girls at home, so I have to spoil her to a point. I have to spoil her somehow, okay? But she's also a tomboy. Okay, yes. She likes the frills, but she also likes going to play and pick up worms, put them in cups, save them for fishing. I'm like, yeah, okay. But this lady in our lesson today, she understood the problem. She understood the problem. Psalm 49, verse 3. It says, my mouth shall speak of wisdom, and the meditation of my heart shall be of understanding. When you speak to somebody, is it words of wisdom? Now, you could say words of wisdom to somebody, but they not be nice words of wisdom. How you say it is what's important, okay? When you're meditating on God's word to help you have those words of wisdom, then your heart will be full of understanding. But first you have to apply God's word to be able to use it, okay? Letter A, assess the situation. Assess the situation. How am I going to do that, Kyla? Well, could somebody give me a definition of what the word assess means? Any ideas? Okay, miss. To analyze. That was a big definition. I would have never thought of that, but good job. To analyze. It's because she's awake and alert and ready for the day. To analyze the situation. Okay, how many of you are a list people? You write things down on a list so you could check them off? I hate lists, okay, but I am trying to be better at it. I have improved. When Cammie and I were growing up, every Saturday or every time mom and dad would leave to go on a date, to go grocery or Christmas present shopping especially. Okay, girls and Kellen, we have a list here of chores you guys need to get done before we get home. You know how many things were on that list, Pearl? 20. So, of course, our second oldest sister, if she's watching, I love you. But our second oldest sister would go and find the simplest chores to do. Same with our second youngest sister, our youngest sister. Not Cammie, our second youngest sister. She would go and she would find, not the easiest one, the one that nobody likes to do. Which, guess what that is? Clean the bathrooms. Clean the bathrooms. She loved cleaning the bathrooms. I'm like, have at it. Okay? I'll rather sweep up all the dust bunnies that are collecting underneath the table and in the corners and mop the floors instead of doing the bathrooms. Okay? But I was never quick enough to get to the chores I liked because our second older sister decided, oh, I got to do this chore so I could be done quicker. Okay. So, of course, I had to get stuck cleaning my bedroom or washing the dishes, and I did not like that. But assess the situation. How are you going to assess a situation that you might be in right now? I don't know, because I'm not in your brain. I can't read your mind. Although, I don't know if that would be a good thing. But anyway, so how are we going to assess the situation? how are we going to assess our list of things to get done throughout the day? Well, start off with the one that you like the least. Bathrooms, laundry. And so I try and get those done first. But then a lot of the time, I try and just to get the main house clean before I do any of the like other things. And then when the kids are playing or resting, then I do the laundry. Because then I'm not afraid that they're going to come through, run over, jump over my pile of clothes, and make a mess again. So I have to assess how I'm going to go about fixing the situation, okay? And that's what she did. Avoiding a problem doesn't make it go away or get better. How many have we been there? Tried to avoid situations and we're like, there's no way I'm getting around it. And then at the end of the day, you end up, I might as well go do it, okay? Or go get this done, or go. Burying our head in the sand when a difficult circumstance comes our way does not change. We're not ostriches, okay? We are people, we are Christians. We need to just buck up and do it. Just go and get it done. Our way doesn't change the outcome. But the way we can assess the situation is with wisdom and with guidance from God. But we need to sit there and say, God, help me be able to assess the situation or analyze the situation correctly so I can get it done in the right way. Okay? Letter B, understand, she understood, or understand the situation. Understand the situation. Okay, you might be sitting here, you might have started your car, and you look and you're like, I'm at a half a tank. Okay, no, I'll wait. I'll be good. I'll make it to, I'm trying to think of a city that's a little further away. Grand Rapids. I'll make it to Grand Rapids. Do you think you'll make it on a half a tank? Maybe. Barely. Okay. Now, Dee knows this story. And I might have said it in here, but last year, I was coming home from Camp Kobiak from our week-long, fun, exciting week of camp that we had with our kids. Luckily, I didn't have to bring the trailer and the four-wheeler home. Pastor took it home for me that day. And I remember my husband telling me, you need to stop at this place, stop and get gas, let the kids, use the bathroom, or whatever, at the Claire Welcome Center thing. So I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, I don't need gas. The kids are all sleeping right now. I don't need to worry about it. And it's downpouring, Rosie, like the whole way. We left camp. It was just, you could barely see. Not because it was pouring so hard that it was like kind of misting off the car. And so it was causing like a fog in front, and I couldn't see. And then the road was, it was a mess. So I'm driving, and I know I'm getting closer to home because I was just right before the Eastwood Town Center, okay? All of a sudden, my gas light dings. I'm like, oh no. I'm on the phone with Cammie, and I'm literally freaking out. I said, Cammie, stay on the phone with me. She goes, what's wrong? I said, my gas light just went off, and I know I can make it so far before I break down, but pray that a gas station comes up close so I can fill up. And she goes, okay. I said, I knew I should have stopped. She goes, what? I said, I knew I should have stopped. Joe told me, no matter what, stop at Claire, get gas. Did the wife listen? No. So, understanding that I knew I should have listened to my husband, and I didn't because I thought I knew better. Okay, we've all been there, I'm sure. Well, maybe some of you have not been there. And I knew I should have stopped. As soon as that light dinged on, I'm like, and then Joe called. I was like, Cammie, I gotta go. I did not want to tell Joe, yeah, I just stopped at a gas station here in Eastwood Town Center because my gas light went on. But I had to tell him anyway. And I was almost in tears because I knew I did wrong. And I said, I'm so sorry. He goes, for what? I said, he goes, I told you to. I know I did, but I thought I could make it. The kids were sleeping. And, will you do that again? No. So I understood the situation, but how did I handle it? I was freaking out when that gas light went on. I was shaking like crazy. Cammie could hear it in my voice. I'm like, I'm going to break down on the side of the road with my 3 kids, and I am this close to the mobile gas station right there. But luckily, the Lord gave me enough gas. I mean, I was like, here's the line, and here is my gas gauge. I mean, it was like right there. So I pull in. I was like, I got to go, honey. He goes, okay. I'm like, oh, stupid. Why did you not listen? Because my husband knew what the situation would have been if I wouldn't have stopped and got gas. And there I was. I now understood the situation. I will never, ever do that again. Never. Will I? Maybe. Maybe not with the gas situation, but with something else. Are you understanding the situation you might be in right now? I mean, that was a silly illustration, but what about a serious illustration? I don't have one of those readily available. I'm sure one's up there somewhere, but thinking of you, is there an issue that in your life right now that you're going through that you're like, okay, right now all I know is this, and this. Once I get more information, whatever it may be, whether it's for health or family issues or whatever, until I know more information, then I'll be okay. I know for us it's hard to do that because we want to know things right away, all right? In all our difficulties, we fail to truly understand what is going on below. This is what she wrote in her book, going on below the surface. Instead, we get caught up in the chaos of the moment. The result is that our circumstances only worsen. How many ladies would agree with me that my circumstance with the gas worsened? Why? Because I didn't listen to my sweet, amazing husband who knows these things way better than I do. Okay? I'm going to listen, Dee.
You might want to ask how many of us have done the same.
Oh, I'm sure all of you at one point or another have done something like that. But I am not judging. That is not my place. Okay? The result is our circumstances only worsen. The bitterness grows stronger, the relationship becomes weaker, and we live in a continual state of frustration, denial, and turmoil. We do. So we need to make sure that we get God's wisdom to help us in this chaotic world, in all of our issues that what we might be going through. Number 2, she boldly confronted the problem. I do not like confrontation, ladies, and I'm sure you guys don't either. You ladies don't either. But if something goes wrong in a relationship, with a friend, with a family member, go to that person and get it taken care of right away. Or if you feel like you offended someone but you didn't mean to, go and get it taken care of right away. Because you might not know what they're really going through. Okay? She boldly confronted the problem. I must not have underlined a whole bunch of stuff. Okay. So here's a verse for you. Proverbs 10:13. In the lips of him that hath understanding, wisdom is found. But a rod is for the back of him that is void of understanding. Okay? She has a little clip in here about her. If you have not read this chapter yet, read the chapter. You have a book. If you don't, I believe I have a couple extras I would have to go find in Joe's office. But when she was a little girl, she was very shy. Mrs. Chappell was very shy. I never met her, so I can't really tell you, yes, okay. But she was a very shy lady, and she came from a home where her dad was abusive. And so she would always find better places to hide when she got home from school or whenever her dad was upset. And she always wanted to be around people that made her feel good. And when she was in second grade, her family lived in Santa Cruz, California. The school she attended was located some distance from her house, and every day she had to ride the bus home from school. Well, usually her and her friend would hurry to catch the bus. But one day they decided to linger behind to enjoy extra playtime with their friends. As a result of their dilly-dallying, they missed the bus. Suddenly, she was faced with a choice. She goes, I could tell my teacher that I missed my ride, and she would call my mom, and I would call my dad, or who would call my dad. Or I could follow the suggestion of a friend. Let's walk home. No, I would not want to walk anywhere in California. Well, walking home seemed like the best way to avoid confrontation with her parents and teachers. So Mrs. Chappell agreed, and they set off for the walk home. Well, of course, at 7 years old, they have no idea, Well, there was tracks over, train tracks on the bridge that were over the San Lorenzo River. Far below the river surged, its water splashing and foaming, but instead of turning back, we crossed the bridge. So think of Eli. I actually could see Eli doing this, unfortunately. But instead of turning back, we crossed the bridge, much of the way with no guardrails to keep us from a dangerous fall. Unbelievable. After several unexpected obstacles, we finally made it to my neighborhood well after the sunset. Well, of course, as soon as she got home, she saw red and blue lights flashing on her garage door. She goes, great. Mom called the police and probably the fire department. They're probably all out searching everywhere. Well, of course, she was afraid to go home because she knew what was going to happen. Her fear to face confrontation had created even more problems, confusion, and attention that she wishes that she could just ignore. But she didn't confront the problem. She went around so she wouldn't have to worry about it. But ladies, I wanted to give you that quick little story of her because this kind of wraps all of this point up. If we don't handle problems correctly and in the correct manner, then it's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. You start off with one little weed in your garden. If you don't take care of it, whoosh. Oh, a garden of weeds? Yes. Although last year my kids helped me weed. I was shocked. They're like, Mommy, I want to help you. I was like, well, do those ones because these ones are pokey. I'll do those ones, you do the other ones. They pulled out like 10 to 12, like each time they wanted to come out. I'm like, yes, that's 12 less weeds I have to worry about. In the lips of him that hath understanding, wisdom is found. Isn't it amazing how that works? Mrs. Chappell, she didn't confront the problem. She skirted around it. Are we doing that to ourselves spiritually, emotionally, physically, with relationships? How we can fix that is by to commit spending time with God. If we don't spend time with God, then we're not going to find that wisdom that we need. And it's important, because if we want to help somebody spiritually and we're not in the Bible, then how are we going to help them? We can't. I mean, we can try, but it's not going to be easy. Okay? Consider the current problems in your life. Are you running away from them? Are you just one of those people that's like, no, I'm going to get it done. I am going to take care of it right now. Or are you that person say, yeah, I want to take care of it right now, but I'm just so busy. I'm the first one to raise my hand. Because there's so many times, Dolores, that I want to fix things, but I can't because I just don't set my priorities right. I don't sit there and say, God, please give me the wisdom that I need to be able to be that better person, to help me remember to take care of these issues that I might be dealing with. Letter B, under 2, is face problems with godly courage and wisdom. The only way, ladies, that you can face these problems head on is by getting encouragement from maybe your best friend. If you don't want to call me, for a pastor's wife help, that's fine. That's okay. Well, she's so busy, I don't need it. That's okay. Part of my job is to help you. But if you know of another pastor's wife, maybe someone that you grew up with, and you trust them, call them. That's okay. Okay? If you know somebody else that could help you better than somebody else can, then call them up. Okay? And I'm not going to say and be like, that person didn't call me for help. I had to hear from somebody else. Okay. If you don't want somebody else telling somebody else your problems, then maybe go to that person to tell them. Okay? I'm not forcing you to do anything, but I think it would help, because, ladies, we like talking. And sometimes we start talking and then something comes out that we weren't supposed to say. And it wasn't intentional, it just accidental. And of course, we're like, come back. And we can't do that. So find somebody to talk to. Get godly counsel. Get godly encouragement from someone. Get wisdom. Get wisdom from God's word. Okay? And that's what she did. The wise woman, she boldly confronted the problem. She committed it to God, like we need to do. And she faced the problems with godly courage and wisdom. Is that what we're doing in our lives? I hope so. Ladies, it is hard sometimes to want to ask for help. I'm the first to admit I hate asking for help, especially with my husband, because I know how busy he is and I know he has a lot of stuff to do. And we had a discussion the other day and I said, honey, I wanted to try and do it by myself. It was computer stuff. I said, I wanted to try and do it myself, but he goes, but Kyla, I told you that if you can't figure it out, call me. I said, honey, I didn't want to call you because you're so busy. This was like this right before Easter. He goes, yes, but now I'm fixing it the night before Easter. I was like, okay. And of course I'm crying because I feel horrible. But you know what? How can we fix that? I was just saying, okay, it's all right. Lord, I can't work on this computer without making a mess. So give me the right way to ask my husband or somebody else for help. And that's okay. That's what God is there for. If you can't get a hold of your best friend really is the Lord. Well, my friend here on earth, well, if you can't get a hold of your friend here on earth, then you can get a hold of your Heavenly Father who's always there. Okay? So I want to leave you with this little quote. If you have problems, God has the solutions. Ladies, just give it to God and turn it over. Lay it in His hands. And He will bear your burden. He will help you through your problems that you might be going through. In this chaotic world, there's going to be a whole bunch of them. Whether it's your car needing to get fixed, whether it's health issues that you're dealing with, give it to God. And He will see you through. I hope that was a blessing to you this morning. And I hope that